Welcome to Your Soul Wisdom, hosted by Yana Amor Manocas. In each episode, we invite you on a transformative journey delving into the profound mysteries and wisdom of the soul. Join us as we explore a wide array of spiritual topics and sacred practices that nurture and heal the soul, from reincarnation and soul contracts to the enigmatic experiences of womb alchemy and astral travel. Our discussions are designed to enlighten, inspire, and deepen your understanding of your own soul's journey. With Your Soul Wisdom, nothing is off limits. Welcome to Your Soul Wisdom. And before we get into what I hope will actually be a funny topic this time, as opposed to something that's really, really heavy, I want to remind everybody, if you're watching us, listening, however you are getting your soul wisdom, please like, share, subscribe, comment on our content. It is the best way to support us. And if you've been thinking and contemplating about joining the collective, I don't know what you're waiting for. You're missing out on a lot of fun, a lot of healing, and group activities. Like when I say activities, it's more like group community chat and the humor and the spiritual family that you essentially build, right? And then the library of meditations and Kylie's astrological readings every month. I mean, who doesn't love Kylie plus some humor? I mean, it's like amazing. Anyway, head on over to yoursoulwisdomshow.com. You can get all the information on the collective. If you want to book a reading, a healing, anything with. Welcome to Your Soul Wisdom, hosted by Yana Amor Manocas. In each episode, we invite you on a transformative journey delving into the profound mysteries and wisdom of the soul. Join us as we explore a wide array of spiritual topics and sacred practices that nurture and heal the soul, from reincarnation and soul contracts to the enigmatic experiences of womb alchemy and astral travel. Our discussions are designed to enlighten, inspire, and deepen your understanding of your own soul's journey. With Your Soul Wisdom, nothing is off limits. Any one of these lovely ladies, that is where you're going to find every single thing. And now, ladies, I feel like this is something that I know that I have experienced very much in my life. But essentially today we're going to discuss, is this my intuition or do I not like them? And so when we are meeting new people, when we are interacting with coworkers, friends, for me, very much like the moms of the other classmates that Olivia goes to school with, you know, you pick up vibes really, really quickly, especially if you feel energy. So where is the fine line of, is my intuition telling me to stay away from somebody, or do I just not like them? Are they just not my person? Anybody?
Don't like them.
Well, I think after Vagary, I have such a different view on this kind of stuff. You know, I don't even know if I even want to think about like and not like and stuff like that. I just want to think of sort of variations of difference from essentially who or what I am kind of thing is what it comes up to. So yeah, I would now classify those people that I'm not drawn to as very different to me. But that's not better or worse. That's just different to me and I'm not resonating at that time sort of thing. So that's where I'm at.
I either would prefer or would not prefer to hang out with them.
That's so nice.
But don't make anyone wrong. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Kylie.
No, look, I will know in 10 seconds if I want to waste my time or not waste my time. And it's not like I don't like people. I just don't. And it's a broad subject, right? So I will know. And I don't want to spend my time on getting to know someone if I know that we're not jiving. Or
Yeah,
they
but have
won't-
you ever misjudged a person
Mhm.
where you thought, okay, I want to
No.
give you an example, a recent example. There is a school mother whose daughter is in Olivia's classroom. And this could be many people. So, you know,
I have to say, you pray to God,
I was about to say, hopefully they're not
she ain't your
watching.
biggest fan.
let me tell you, it's okay if they
Hannah,
listen. But,
hoping they are watching.
okay, let me change my
Comment.
example. I know some random person.
By the name of Sarah, who is a mother figure.
Okay, so I have a friend, okay, who is married, and the husband is my friend. I had known him since I was a teenager, and I ran into him, and clearly him knowing that I had been through a divorce, he starts telling me about how he wants a divorce from his wife because she's a terrible mother and she's so cold and there's nothing warm about her, and he's going on and on. I mean, like, he's a clear victim based on the story. Then maybe like a month or so after, just based on events where I had to be with the wife, like we did some group things together. Of course, I had this preconceived notion of she's cold, she's got no friends, she can be mean or rude or just like bitchy or whatever, all these terrible words he was using. Okay. And so I'm kind of like feeling things out, but I'm also like, I got my guard up a little bit because I'm what I was told was nothing positive. And through little conversation, just over like a week or two, I realized not only is this woman like lovely and funny and kind and all these things, she's actually a fantastic mother. And not just because of what I see, but the way her children respond to her. And I just thought to myself, oh, he's just, as many people do when they start going through a divorce, which nobody in this room can relate to except me. When people feel like they're backed up against a corner, they just, what's it called? The gloves come
Yeah,
off.
no,
And
I
they,
promise you, everyone can relate to that.
yeah, everybody could. I've experienced that with two
right.
friends from my children's school, whereby what the fathers were doing was that they were speaking to me a lot, but I didn't really know. Well, one of their wives I knew really well, but it's what they do. They go into that sort of base or that playground of where they know the mothers are they're quite strong in, or that's where their sort of network is. And they systematically try to destroy that
Right.
network by going around things. But so that's kind of slightly different. One of
Absolutely.
them I didn't know very well, and one of them I did. And they're two of my really good friends now because they're good peoples and they're good mothers. What you found out was that a divorce was imminent.
Well, right. And
So that's
so
what that
I
was.
love this woman. We've hung out like as adults, going to dinner. She's come to my house. I don't think the husband knows, but I'd have no problem being like, you were clearly like sabotaging her. But in that moment, I thought to myself, I could have written you off so easily just because I wouldn't have wanted to get involved or even invest the time to find out if he was right or wrong. And so in those situations, there was no intuition or this feels like she is X, Y, and Z. It was just very much I was
Preconceived
told.
notion.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a couple of things, and I do want to say, and not specifically in that situation or even the one Amanda was speaking about, but you don't know what happens in a relationship when two people are together, a whole
Right.
separate entity or energy is created, and they could be a completely different person behind closed doors. So I just want to say that we really never know what happens in, the privacy of a relationship. That's one
Very
thing,
true.
Of course.
Absolutely.
So we can't generalize, right? But then the other thing is, I think this highlights the need for discernment when you have been told things about people, not to, and it's hard because you sort of go in immediately with this bias, especially, I guess, if you know that person. What I think it is about being really conscious in your interactions with them. But, so much of life, I guess we just move through, and take things with us. So this is bringing up a really good point about, using your own discernment about everyone that you're around rather than taking in the energy of what others are giving you about them.
Right. The projection of somebody else's view
Yeah,
or
it's their
idea of them.
perception.
100%.
I got to tell you
Yeah,
that
but I
when I've
think
been sitting here thinking about this, I don't have that reaction. If someone was to tell me that kind of thing, weirdly, I get curious to see if my taste of them is the same, if you know what I mean. Like, I can well imagine if you told me about some fiery, hectic woman that scares the crap out of you, Yana, this kind of thing, and I had an opportunity to meet her, I'd be really intrigued to just be in her energy, maybe only for 15 seconds, to just see if she had the same effect on me. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know how much I can relate to this conversation,
Yeah,
to be
that
honest.
you're
no, but it's
naturally
kind of
like that, Rachel.
no,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
that's a good
but
point.
that's kind of like the situation that we had a couple of years ago when I, you know what I mean, with a particular person that I hadn't had a great experience with. And it wasn't a case of, you know, and for me, I just thought, well, I'm not going to say to you guys that, listen, don't go anywhere near this person because, you know, their energy is quite shit. I just thought, well, everybody has to figure it out for themselves. Do you know what
Mm,
I mean? And have to feel it
I
for
just
themselves.
I just
And
connected that dot.
do
yeah,
you know what I
I
mean? And so
know.
said, so done. You know, they actually showed up. Well, they showed up for themselves, isn't it? Showed their ass. So, you know, sometimes you do have to, because you don't want to, what's the word? You don't want to sort of like convince someone that somebody else is of bad energy, because it might just be you and them.
But
They
that
might
is
be
your
great with
impeccable
everybody
energy,
else.
Amanda. Like,
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
you being a role model as to how to do this,
Really?
rather than, say, the
Yeah.
person that Yana spoke to who was like "Bah, bah, 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 bah," about, you know, their
Yeah.
partner. You sat
Yeah.
back and you let us figure that out, and we figured it out relatively quickly.
Yeah.
But you know, that was an excellent display of energy, of, you know, holding a boundary, holding respect for everyone's opinion, trusting that, you know, it would all come as it should.
Would work out, and maybe they would be good, maybe they would know how to show up in a good way, and maybe they don't. But I think, though, sometimes that I think it's a mixture of both. I think there are just some people that I don't even think it's intuition, that you don't like them because it's intuition. I think maybe it's both, that they're just not nice people. You just don't like them, you just don't like their energy, and you want to like them, because sometimes there are lots of people in your life, you give them a chance. It's not that you give them a chance, it's just a normal thing. Like, I've been in a workplace whereby, you know, that's going to be your work colleague, so you work with them and you think, well, I want to get on because, you know, we're in such a small group of people, I want to get on with you and I want to work. And this particular person just set out to just be a right, just like, oh God, I say, it's right. She she was one of those type of people. We worked in a very small environment with very few staff, but she would take it upon herself to just go and tell lies to the boss about other members of staff, and then she would just do stuff, and she was just horrible. But then I realized, I knew what it was about her. I realized that her life outside was full of what you would call chaos, that's what she did amongst her friends and her family. They were always fighting and gossiping amongst each other and stuff like
Drama.
that, and everything. It was always drama. So she brought that into the workplace because she didn't know how to exist in a place without it. Do you know what I mean?
But
So
look,
she would do horrible things.
yeah, but to just butt in for a sec, you know, again, in reflection to our vagary session, you know, I think it's interesting to reframe those kind of experiences now as people that show up your own values. Do you mean her being so sort of chaotic and destructive also could have reflected to you how much you value harmony, cooperation, how flexible you are, how willing you are to accept people as they are, how open you are.
You're so
Do you
grown
mean,
up,
and in a way,
Rachel. I don't know if I'm that
like, I
grown up.
mean,
Totally. I do. Amanda, I'm with you.
I'm like, I get it, but you know, like even now, acknowledge those things in yourself, because that's actually, you know, what this woman is showing up for you. And yeah, who knows what's going on in her life, and who knows if what her behavior is, but what it is showing you what you value. But I think if I can also just go on, I do think it is interesting, because the one thing that I realized is there is one archetype of person that does sort of suck me in. And I wonder if you've had the same experience. So these people for me start off being absolutely amazing. Like, I am obsessed with them. They are really dynamic. They're funny. They've got great stories. You know, they have a whole lot of energy, this kind of thing. But as the sort of relationship progresses, what I realize they are, in retrospect, is like chaos makers. Do you know what I mean? These people are also, I don't know, for want of better words, really quite flaky. But I wonder, do you guys have that experience? But there's only a few people in my life that's happened, but it is a very specific cycle for me. Can you see specific cycles in your lives too?
I don't know. As I get older, I think I make less friends.
Right. Your
I think I
discernment is
do.
better.
Yeah, and I think that um um yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I go off my feels. I just go off my feels of people. So for me, I guess I'm going to just put it all down to intuition. There's always something I can smell about somebody. So my clear, what's it called? My clear gustatory. What is it?
Clear
What's
sentience.
the smell? No, that's touch, isn't it?
Oh,
Or feel.
smell. Oh,
Smell.
clear aliens.
Yeah, my clear aliens
AIR.
kind of
Yeah.
like full on. I can
Yeah.
smell your bullshit from far off. And if I don't like you, I don't like you. Yeah, that's
do
kind of
wanna-
funny. And I just don't want to be around you. Don't forget, I'm the one that hides behind a tree. So I don't like you. You know,
You know,
really.
I do think, because when Yana sort of gave us this topic just this morning,
Excuse
come
me.
to me again. I woke up and I looked at my phone. I went, oh, okay. And then I didn't think about it too much because I'm not really allowed to. But what did come to me was sometimes when people are going through things, say they've got challenges in their relationship, challenges at home, something big's happening in their life. Think of people with sevens and they're really holding their stuff together. They may not feel they're just not able to fully express themselves. And sometimes you can feel like maybe they don't like you or maybe they're cold. Like I know a lot of people that have met me previously in my life, hopefully not so much now, kind of think of me as, closed off or a bit stuffy or a bit weird
Yeah.
or whatever. Maybe that's my own perception of myself. But I know that, I have been very careful with my sevens, which, is all about putting up a mask, so you don't get rejected or whatever it may be. It's like, there's something there and it's almost like you feel like they're not being fully honest with you. And it may have nothing to do with you and it may be something that you couldn't care less about, but it's just that energy that there's something that's not quite right. And so sometimes when that is there and it is harmless, you can make it into something. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
you are in your own journey,
Mm.
right? Where do I take everything personal or do I realize it's not about me? Right?
Yeah,
Like
but it's not even that it's about you, but sometimes it's just like, oh, I don't like them because, she's stuck up or whatever, but really she's just holding her shit together by one thread.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which has definitely been me at different times in my life.
Or people like, for me, I think if you carry, people sometimes I think have been more sort of wary of me. Because when I was a lot younger and the kids in school, they used to think I was very standoffish. And I was thinking, and sometimes, as you say, and that can sometimes just come down to I was kind of shy. And because I kind of thought that some of the parents at the school, they were really sort of like, you know what I mean, sort of like rich and sort of, I thought they were kind of like quite standoffish to me kind of thing. To the point whereby one parent actually said, I didn't realize you were so funny. She says, because I used to laugh at myself all the time. They'd say things. But not only that, I think also what was funny was that I always used to come to school really dressed. That was just me. Or people would think I'm dressed. I'd have like a pair of jeans and the boots and like a, nice top, but like a long cardigan. So I'd really look like I'd swan into school and swan out and things like that. I didn't turn up in my pajamas. There's one parent who would perpetually turn up every morning in her pajamas. And she used to think that was kind of cool. Because she said, well, I wasn't really getting out of the car, but you are out of the car. And you're in your pajamas. Do you know what I mean? So there's all different things, but, I do think that you kind of pull those feelings. People do have that. But I think, well, if you're not inside your, no, maybe I should say that.
Well, here's the thing, right? Hold on. And this may be mostly.
Was that a sausage moment? Did you just sausage yourself? Is that what happened?
I did.
I don't even know where the sausages were going. I can't even imagine
either.
the sausageness.
No, I was just going to say.
Can you light the barbecue up and put the sausages on and then
all I was
whip them
going to
off?
say is that if you're not inside your intuitive stuff, or you're not even on that road or that field, then you don't have a right to make a decision about me just based on, because what is it based on? What, just how I look, just what I'm wearing, what I'm doing? No, you don't. Because like Lauren's saying, you don't know what's going on with
In someone's
people,
life.
or
Yep.
or in someone's life, or in anything like that.
Can I just say
Kylie's going to
something?
jump right in.
Okay,
Yes,
look, and
please do.
listen. I am restraining myself. So
Don't have to. Let it out. Let it out.
okay, listen, we'll see how we go. Multiple times this has come up, and I'm like, why the fuck do we care? Why do
I
we
knew you was
care
going to say
where they're at?
that.
Why do I give two flying toenails about where our mum friend Sarah is in her marriage? Oh my God, like boo-hoo. No, I'm living my existence, and if if that's abrasiveness to you, or you're giving your abrasiveness back to me, 2 fingers up, bye. Why are we? It's not my responsibility to coddle you because you are experiencing a shit time. I'm sorry, right? I'm sorry. If someone died in your family and you're walking around sad, I will be the first bitch there with a gift basket of snacks. Let's go. But if you're being a bitch back to me because of your life circumstances, block until you
No,
get your
I
shit
agree with
together.
that.
That I
Until you
agree
get your
with.
shit together.
Yeah, totally.
I have no tolerance for that. Like, I am not your punching bag. I am not understanding of where you're at. We're meeting on, if we're going to a PTA meeting and I have to deal with you at a PTA meeting, I don't want to hear about your husband being a dick to you. That's not my problem. I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, poor diddums. I'm like, you know what?
It's
Keep
a bit
that
of
within your
gospel.
own marriage. I don't need to be, I hardly know you. And nor do I want to be your therapist. I'm sorry. There is this look,
But you
okay.
can make good friends like that, Kylie.
No, fuck off. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want any of that.
Kylie's friend roster is full.
Yeah, listen.
But
This is
many
going to sound
good
really
friendships, or friendships between women, are formed at the school gates.
no,
When
fuck off. I am
you're
hiding behind a tree. That is the one time. No, listen. I sit in my
You've never
car.
got over your car. I've sat with
No,
you with school pickups
yeah, it's true.
forever, and you don't get out of the car.
It's
Most
true. But I'm going to tell you something. I am not wearing my pajamas because if I get a flat tire and I have to parade my pajamas on the side of the freeway, I'm bra'd up and I have pants and I have decent footwear on. I'm sorry. That's anyway. This might be really, really egotistical, but I attract people, right? And I don't want to. I don't mean to, but I come out of the gate funny because I like to disarm people because I want to see their true self. And that's just something that I have trained from a trauma response as a child, right? You want to keep the peace in your household. So what do? You show up as the perfect child, right? You disarm people so you can read the energy. That has become an absolute blessing to acknowledge in my older life because now I can be like, you know what, I will drop some funny bombs. And now I'm suddenly the cute little Australian chick that everyone wants to be around with all these uptight Americans, right? You would be so much fun at the bar. Yes, I am, but you won't get to experience that because I can see that we're not going to align. We're not aligning, right?
So what
But
is that? So what is at that point, Kylie? At that point, what is it? Is that your intuition, or is that the fact that you just don't like them? Which one is
I will judge. There will be a component of judgment and there will be a component of
100%.
energy reading. No,
Can we actually split them out? Like,
Yeah.
Kylie, do
can.
you feel like that you feel like you can split out intuition with
I
judgment?
will energetically be able to read you if I have. That's why I'm quiet out of the gate because I like to read energy first. Then I will drop some cracky, Australian, a cute little Australian chick's funny, and then I'll be like, okay. Within like a minute, I'm like, okay, have a good day. I don't want to give you my number. No, we're good. We're good.
Do you say
Right?
that? Do you actually say that out loud?
If you will know, if I don't want to speak to you, I will give you my number, but you will never hear from me again. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. But I don't, if it was not related to my kids, I will blatantly tell you up front, hey, you can go I don't need a follower on Instagram. Go like my Instagram. but I don't, if it's a friend and kids, it's a whole complicated thing, right?
Right.
But, I'm sorry, but I'm going to judge you a little bit based on, if look, I know this makes me sound horrible, but if you've got a designer handbag, you're driving a G-Wagon, you're telling me that you're going to go tennis and you want to go on a tennis date at the tennis club, it's going to be a no within 30 seconds because I know that we're not going to have anything in common.
Yeah.
It's as
I do
simple as
think, though,
That's me.
I
I
don't
do.
want I don't want to waste my time to get to know you when I struggle with the friends that I ride or die with in my
Yeah.
reality, in
But
my real life.
I do think
I'm
as you get older, right, your time does become more precious as such,
it's
right? Because you
menopause.
you know,
Menopause will do it to you too.
I think when you're younger, you sort of, it's like, you're figuring it out, you're figuring out your people and all of those things. But as you get older, it reminds me of, I'm totally quoting Taylor Swift right now. There was a video on Instagram or something about her speaking about, you need to treat your time as expensive and not everyone can afford it.
Yeah.
And, I know in my life when I was younger, I had a lot of time for a lot of people and I still do now, but it's just about capacity. So I guess, what you're saying, Kylie, is I only have so much capacity and I'm going to make that the highest value I possibly can.
Yeah. If you are allowed into my space and I reciprocate, that is the key thing. If I reciprocate that, you are never getting rid of me. And that's it. Like, that is it, right? There is nothing you can do and I will go away. But if you're on that second tier, peace out. Like, no loss. I'm sorry.
Hey,
But
just
do
by
you
the way,
know?
ladies, I want to draw to our attention that we do have the capacity to tell the difference between our intuition if we like people, because it's hard on the first time you've met someone, but I know all of you, including me, have the capacity that as soon as somebody starts talking, we can tell instantly if there's an undercurrent of something else that's separate from them. That's our intuition. But look, also to just be a basic bitch, honestly, I just think logically from my own perspective, if I was in a room with 100 people, I would be out of my mind joyful if I genuinely liked one of them. Do you know what I mean? If there was one person in there that I genuinely connected with and wanted to spend 3 hours with, that would be a remarkable outcome. Then there's
Oh,
going
I'm
to
the
be
kind
like
of person
93
that
people who I am ambivalent about or will tolerate or something like that. And then there'll be a few stragglers that are like 3 to 5 that I'm like, oh, no, not my temperature at all kind of
at
thing.
all. Do you know what?
And I
I'm that
honestly
person.
feel that I fit into that with everybody else as well. Do you know what I mean? Like 1 out of 100
That's
people
how it works.
are going to find
Mm.
me that attractive. 93 people are not going to really give a fuck about whether I live or die to a certain extent. And 3 or 5 people are going to find me abhorrent. It's
So
just how it works.
Rachel. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I hear what you're saying, but I'm kind of like, I like everybody in the room until you do or say something to make me not like you. Because, do you
Because you're
know,
a walking love bubble.
no, because I think I'm quite an easygoing person, and I think I'm quite a happy person. And I think when you get to like a certain age, I don't really take umbrage with anybody, to be quite honest. But like I remember one time going to a party a few years back, and there was a woman in there. Oh my God, she had the most miserablest face ever. And she came in, and her and her husband, she was miserable, and I had to sit down at her table to eat my food, and she kept giving me these dirty looks and things like that. And afterwards I had to ask my friend, like, what is wrong with her? Like, why is she, you know what I mean, why is she so angry? And they were like, oh, she's the nicest person on the planet. I thought, yeah, I don't think so. I think there's something. But then they were saying, oh, well, half of her family was late, so she was a bit pissed with that. And I said, well, why was that my problem? Why was that my problem? And so for me, I think
God,
and so
I
for
hate that.
me, I'm think so I think I don't go into a room of people thinking anything, and I will speak to everybody and anybody if I have to, but I'm not thinking about the fact that, okay, I like everybody until you do something to make me not like you.
I'm very much like you, Amanda, but the amount of times in my life where someone has approached me once they've had a few words with me and they're like, "You're so nice. I thought you were a
Yeah.
total bitch."
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
amount of times that has happened, and every time I'm like, "What about me gives you that
That
impression?"
impression.
They're like, I don't know. It's just how I have felt
Yeah.
time and time again.
Again.
And then I think to myself, the same thing that happened, a few summers ago when I was in the middle of a pool with people everywhere, and you're fixing yourself and whatever, and you're feeling self-conscious about what you look like. And I remember in that moment going, why am I even feeling this way? Every single person at this pool, skinny, chubby, fat, not fat, whatever it is, every single person at this pool is feeling self-conscious. And in that moment, I was like, I will never again feel this way. But it's the same way we all think, oh, that other person seems cold or whatever. But then we're all thinking the same thing of each other. And in reality, most people are actually kind. Most people are actually loving and generous and all those things, as opposed to, Kylie writing everyone off.
But what about then what Rachel was saying about how, there could be a few people in the room whereby something else a few people in the room whereby, you just don't get on with it. And are those people that you've just never spoken to, and that's just a feels like, yeah, me and you are just not going anywhere near that. So that would be your intuition then.
Look,
Yeah, listen.
it would be your intuition and your memory of other people, because the reality is that, we think, even the five of us, even though we've been balls deep in so much together and it's all been raw and real, not for one freaking second am I deluded enough to think that I know more than generously. Let's say I might know 20% of you, and I really don't think it's anything like that. So the people that we hardly know, we know 0.02% of, but what they do is they remind us of somebody else, and then we attribute more characteristics that those people have that we're more familiar with.
Which is
But
a judgment,
it's one
really.
person. Yeah, but it's laid, and then we make up a story or a I think it's a story from us and a vibration from them or whatever, and there is a resonance with that or not a resonance, which happens
Yeah.
in the sort of soup of it. But
it's interesting. I find it hard to split the two, but I guess for me, for intuition, it's more like an instant feeling without so much having like
any idea of what caused it.
Yeah, correct. But then I think it's a little bit grey when you start to move into interacting with them, and then you're kind of judging them based on past memory or those sorts of things as well. So I do feel like the two are very intertwined, for me. But also I'd like to say, I'm sitting here going, Rachel's friends with me, Kylie's friends with me, Yana and Amanda, they're friends with everyone, whatever. But
That's true. That's a good point.
I'm Rachel and I. Just saying.
I'm definitely in the middle. But here's the thing. We all stay here, us five. We're girls, right?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Okay. So this is very specific for Rachel, although it applies to everybody. Rachel, with her, will vagariness change my perspective on everyone and everything? But if you were next to me and some woman was coming by and I was like, oh, this bitch, you would immediately be like, that's right.
This bitch.
Honestly, like genuinely in the moment when you were taking me through that wasn't my reaction. When you said, oh, this bitch, I'm not joking. I honestly saw myself getting up and like, what's this show going to be?
Yeah.
That's honestly what I was thinking.
Okay.
Like, and it's because because you're not someone that I feel is vulnerable. Like if you were someone that I felt that I needed to protect, I would have had a very, very different reaction. But you are not.
Yes,
and so
you are very much ride or die.
I'm right. Like if that woman started freaking saying anything aggressive or whatever, I would use everything within me to protect you if I thought you needed it. But if you didn't, I would enjoy the show. Like you and your full flight, Yana, is something to behold.
Do
you know what I mean? It doesn't happen often. I can remember my staff doing the same thing. Do you know what I mean? They would be just like, they would just be sitting back and just waiting for Rach to just go off. Hey, just while I remember it, I'm so sorry that I'm so perimenopausal. I just want to ask you guys if you've had the same situation as me. And I've actually gone the other way sometimes. And you know how we're all talking about when people are going through this some stuff. There have been people that have met me that very unfortunately have only met me at the very peak of my emotional wave, to the point where they have basically only ever seen Platinum Rachel. And it makes me feel like it's something that I didn't manufacture, but there's no way I can possibly support it. And I am going to devastate them one day when they actually see me in just a sort of average energy level. Can any of you relate to that? Have you had that experience?
No.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
not
far out.
really. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. And I
really
tell you
think I
why.
really think that you would have, because you'd have
You
it
will.
as practitioners.
Yeah.
Because
I've
people,
had
if
people.
they're regular, they'll think you're like that all the time. And of
Yeah.
course,
I've
Oh,
gone on
okay.
tra-
Just one
yeah.
part of
No.
yourself.
Yeah. I've
I'm
gone
thinking
places.
it's mainly at work, when people only
Yeah.
see me when I am like absolutely pinging it.
Well, I've
kind of
gone
thing,
on
and they
trainings,
don't
or
know.
I've gone places where people know me from the podcast, and they go, "Oh my god, it's Amanda," or people would say, "Oh my
Right.
god." And sometimes I've had my camera off, and I've heard them speaking, and they'll be saying like, "Oh my god, it's Amanda Canini's here, and she's from she's from that podcast. Oh, I can't wait to meet her." And I'm like thinking, "Wait to meet
Are we that
what?"
famous? I love
I've
that.
got my camera on
I've never
now.
had that happen.
Yeah, because I
Get
think, how am I
out.
supposed to show up? I don't know what. What am I? What is it that? How am I supposed to be? And I don't know if I'm supposed to be all
I can't relate to that.
laughing,
You're not. You're
dancing,
supposed to
kind
be
of.
yourself. Yes, you can, Kylie, and yes, but you're just supposed to be yourself. Just because you're yourself on this podcast,
Right.
you're
Yes,
yourself on
exactly.
the
But
podcast.
it's when you hear that, and probably
It
when you
puts
hear
some
that for the
pressure
first
on
couple of
you.
times, it
Exactly.
puts pressure on you, because you think,
So what? We need to tour England. Is this what I'm hearing?
Everyone knows. Like, I would have like a marker on me at all times and like, do you want me to sign your boob for you? Like, that's what I would be doing.
I want to know if we're all
Fine.
just Amanda Canini's friends. We go on tour and it's Amanda and
Right.
her
What if they
friends,
we're just here
basically.
with Amanda?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen,
Cool.
even when I taught my course, when both Rachel and Amanda came on in a few of the trainings, if you
Tutorials,
will.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, sure. The comments were made, and one of them she was not quiet at all. She's like, "Oh my god, I feel starstruck. I feel
Yeah.
like I'm." And
yeah,
so absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely, it
Or when
is
people say
absolutely
that I'm fanning over you right now, I'm totally fanning. You're kind of like, Jesus Christ. I just go,
Oh, I love that.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
They're probably just too scared to tell you, Kylie.
Probably.
Yeah.
Look, we'll go with that.
They might
But I
annoy
know
that
what the
they might
answer to
annoy
the
you or
truth
something,
is.
and then you'll never talk to them again.
I know that I'll block them.
It's funny because when I first started doing, when I first got into soul contracts and divine healing and all that, there were a few people where they would book in, week after week. And then at some point they would make some kind of statement of, you as my spiritual teacher, or like you as one of my spiritual. And in that moment I was like, and that's what has made me very aware to always be like, I don't know everything. I can be wrong. What I know now may not resonate with me a year from now. I don't have all the answers. So it's very important for me to always be clear when I start to sense that we're falling into that range, because it's so easy for people to fall in love with this version of you. And I remember one of my first spiritual teachers said to me, "Don't put me on a pedestal. I'll be the first one to disappoint you." And I remember
Love that.
being like, "How dare you say that? I will always love you and adore you." And then that moment years later came where I was like, "Oh, that really disappointed me." But then I remembered what she said and how right it was. And it's so important to live life that way, because we're all human. We all
Correct.
make mistakes. We all have great days, shitty days, and even worse days than that, and even better days than that. And so people, that's why they say for like celebrities, the worst thing that happened for celebrities is like all this access to them through social media and all this stuff, because people start seeing them for who they are as actual human beings, and it alters their perception of them. Where celebrities were always the most beautiful and philanthropic and it was whatever your image had designed of them to be, this picture perfect entity, and they're not, which I actually love because I'm
I
like,
think
oh,
Can't relate to
I
that.
think that
yeah,
I think I walk through life fairly conscious at this time because I get really curious about, think about everything that's in your life, all of the things, all of your friends, your work, whatever it may be, the fullness of your life. Every human is like a sphere holding that energy. There are lives everywhere. So my tendency, I think, when I meet people, I think I feel like I'm fairly conscious that they've got a whole world that I know very little about,
right.
and that I can't really know or make judgment about it. That's not to say I've always thought about things this way, but I think it's a good thing to remember. It's like a whole life, a whole world in that person that you know very little about. And look, whether you have an intuition about someone or whether you just don't like them, like Taylor Swift says, treat your time as expensive and, fill it with value.
But
Love it.
you know, okay. So my husband, he's a really easygoing person, and never makes comments about anything or anyone. But like years ago, I'd lost touch with a friend, and then when I got back in touch with her, she came round to visit with her new partner, their new partner, and because of what she told me, I was so for her, that she was in this new relationship and she was in love. And although the relationship had come from difficulty, she was in love and stuff like that. And I was just like, yeah. But even as it was going on throughout the evening, I was thinking, boy, this is getting a bit wild, because she was drinking more and more, and apparently he was a drinker as well, and she was drinking more and more. And then she would say that they have these. It was really quite weird, but I really wanted this for her because she really wanted to love and relationship. And when they left, my husband just said to me straight away, "Don't like him." And I said, "You never showed anything like that all the evening." And I said, "What did you like?" She said, and so he goes, "Yeah, I don't like him. Something about," he goes, "Nah." He goes, "Do not like him. There's something about him." And he said this before about people. And I've always thought, what do you know? What do you know? Do you know what I mean? You don't
It's
know.
the
So you
spidey
can't say that.
senses, maybe.
Well, because he never shows up in that kind of like spiritual kind of way. So it's more thing, but he's always on point. And so said, so done. After that, it began to prove itself. Do you know what I mean? But that was just him saying, and I don't know if that was from the words that were said, because sometimes making that thought or feeling that I don't necessarily like this person, or this person's not for me, does sometimes also come from the things that they say, or certain might be something that they say and you just think, yeah,
Doesn't
not
allow
Flags are
sure,
align with your
flagging.
doesn't
not sure
align
about
with your
you.
values. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But Amanda,
yeah.
too, you were emotionally invested in the
I
relationship because you
was.
wanted it to work out. So you didn't really have clarity, even intuitively.
I didn't.
Mm.
And you know what, to top it all? That's the person who I hid behind the tree from.
That is adorable.
Warranted.
Hey, I tell you what,
Literally.
I would have told Lauren this yesterday, but
That is
it's made me
amazing.
realize that there were two men in my career that I really do believe are actually corrupt. And as it turned out, that was confirmed yesterday.
Oh,
Lauren, one of them, which I'll tell you about, which I know that I feel weirdly validated. And don't get me wrong, I'm not happy for corruption in the world or anything like that. But I absolutely knew what was up with this man and exactly how he was doing it. And I would have had no proof he worked in a store or all this kind of thing. But as it turns out, he was doing exactly what I suspect he was doing,
Wow.
which was basically taking kickbacks from suppliers for large displays.
That's crazy because I had a client like 2-3 days ago who is becoming a whistleblower, and
Mm.
it's a major thing, like a lawyer,
Mm.
IRS, FBI is getting involved, and she was asking me
In
advice,
love
and
and
I'm like,
gratitude
"Oh
for
my
them.
god." Yeah, but that's funny because I think it's also the astrological energy as of
At
now.
the moment.
It
Oh,
is
yeah.
revealing a lot of these toxic. But anyway, speaking of this, so I don't know if anyone's had this similar scenario. I met a mum on a soccer team, instantly I did my clap. I'm like, nope, no, bad shit. No, we're not. We're not. Anyway, I chose to stand up for the kids on this team. I saw this coach and his new coach, and I'm like, I don't like him. And I will put my butt on the line. And I said to the mums, mark my words, I don't like this guy. And then she said, you're creating negativity on the team. You need to shut up. I'm like,
Mm.
okay, no,
Mhm.
it's fine. You know what? You want to talk to me like that? I've got your number, right? Anyway, as the season's going on, she's getting more and more vocal. She's dropping, my husband's a cop. I can find out where you live. And I'm like, I'm over here. You're not allowing yourself to become known. We're excluding you because we don't know you. And you just go for walks and
Really?
you don't talk to us. Oh, yeah, this is a whole story.
Oh
Anyway,
my God.
Wow.
one thing led to another. And the coach found out I didn't like him. 3 guesses who, right? Anyway, this carried on to the point where I was exploring, restraining orders. And then, lo and behold, things came to light. I called it 2 days into the season of him starting. I called it. He got fired. The team disbanded. And that lady came back and said, oh, well, you were right, but you're still a bitch, but you were right. And I'm like, you know what? I knew that this was going to play out like this.
People
You know, in
behave like
Australia, things
that.
just know. No, look, and bring it. Like I took my hoops out like I was ready to go on the field. Because you know what? I will become your bad guy if it means standing up for something bigger than me.
Same. Same.
Yeah.
You know what I
Same.
mean? And
Same.
I have a reputation now as being that person because she put me in that light. And I'm like, you know what? If that is what people resonate with, because I've got 2 of my other good friends on that team, and they're like, she's actually lovely. And she's like, no, her, she was the one that got the coach fired. But I'm like, and everyone loves this now because he was a major dick. And he was doing there was inappropriate stuff happening. But my point is that I put my ass on the line. People ended up not liking me to the point where they would seek me out in public just to cuss me out. But
What?
I have no problem with it because I stood up for what I believed in.
That's
I'm not here to be liked.
wild.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here to support what I need to support. And sometimes intuition leads you on this wild goose chase, right? You just kind of follow it.
Yeah.
I knew at this
Mhm.
point, I'm like, fuck, there goes my peace that I protect so badly. But you've got to weigh up what is more important, my peace or, potentially, protecting 11 kids.
I'd suggest to you
You
that
know
you
what I
had a
mean?
better chance of getting your peace by taking action because
And
you
that
would
is
have had no
exactly it.
chance of having peace without it.
No. And during all that, it was rough. Like I don't cry. I was crying because I'm like, this woman is destroying everything around me, like actively seeking it out. And because of that,
Oh, wow.
bring on all the batshit
Mm.
crazies because now I'm stronger for it. And
Mm.
I'm like, you can't hurt me because I've already been hurt. You know what I mean? To the point of legal intervention, whatever. But I'm just saying, like, what is the threshold that you're willing to not be liked? Is that need to be liked with each of you ladies to the point where you wouldn't have said anything? I'm not talking about like, I know you guys would have stood up if it was an abuse situation. But if there
Mhm.
was psychological stuff going on and you didn't have any evidence of it, but you had your intuition and you just felt it
Mm-hmm.
and you put your ass on the line, would you guys do that?
I'll follow my
I've
intuition.
I've stood up for less, so the answer is
Yeah, absolutely. I have done that,
I
but I won't go into the story of it because it was similar in that sense, but not with another parent, but with a particular person that wasn't the best of energy
Yeah.
at my daughter's school. And he later on got let go, like you. It took about a year and a lot of other stories and stuff like that. But I had to go down to the school and make a big complaint about it, about his behaviour towards the children. But yeah, same thing. But I'm going to go. For me, I'm always going to go with my intuition. I'm always going to go with my intuition. I don't care. I've had it. Like how Rachel said on the collective. I love my intuition. Me and my intuition are good. We're good friends.
Comes in clutch. I tell you what. How do people function without being tapped into their intuition?
But It's funny because the question that you, in terms of you saying that, I was actually saying that today. That your intuition really is, it's not separate from you. It's something that is you. It's in you. It's the fields that you're actually in, and it's really your intuition. Because a lot of people ask, well, I don't know how to trust that. I don't know how to trust what comes into me or what I'm feeling, or will I be right or will I be wrong? And I think sometimes you have to have the courage to, whether it's wrong or right, to go with your intuition. It's the only way you're going to grow it. And I think it is like a muscle. And if you don't use it, it will become dormant. It will
Yeah.
become,
Yes. Yeah.
um,
And it can take some
right.
time.
It absolutely
You've got to build a relationship with it almost.
yeah.
But, Kylie just asked if any of us would do that. It's really interesting because for me, I've been presented with a lot of opportunities for reflection lately where I have intuitively known something, but sort of kept it very internal, not necessarily shared it, and ended up, I don't want to like being right, loosely. It's not that I need to be right, but I've, had my intuitions come to fruition. And so I'm at the moment, what's being presented to me is to pay more attention to myself because I seem to just like file it away and not voice it so much. And I'm more, I guess, alone with it, if that makes sense. Not that you need to go sharing it with everyone, but I definitely feel like there's more road for me to travel with that.
Look, I have the same feeling. I often feel like I'm the canary in the coal mine. Do you know what I mean? Like I smell it first or something like that. I'm not talking about necessarily with you guys, but it's funny because I don't know what to say. I can relate to what you're saying, but I do notice in myself, even with this intuition that I had about this corrupt person, that so much of it was me validating my intuition to me.
Sure.
If you know what I mean? And I don't know why I need to externalize it to have it bounce back to me because I'm the one witnessing it the whole time. But yeah, you really have brought my attention to that now, and I'll have an investigate. I don't know. What do you guys think
Well,
of that? Like,
I think it's because we're not really taught. Well, maybe some people are, but
All the time.
when you're younger and you maybe have intuitions, you're often
mm,
overridden by the older people around you or whatever it may be, right? I don't necessarily think that it's cultivated as, whereas with my kids, I've always been like, if something feels wrong and you don't have words for it, doesn't matter, just leave.
That's exactly
you know,
me too. Yep.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
but I think that we, as taught so much, what we have been our generation, whatever you want to call it, historically, that has not been so much encouraged, and we're used to overriding it with our minds. So it's about cultivating, and it can take some time to trust it. And I am astounded at myself for how much I pick up on that actually happens. And I like I was pretty cranky at myself actually recently because I'm like, I knew all of that. Why didn't I just know that I knew it instead of, filing it
trying to
in the
prove
file
it.
in my mind? No, I didn't
Oh,
even do that. I just like filed it
you try
away
and
and
talk
I knew
Hold
it,
it.
and then it
way
happened.
down from it?
Because
Sorry?
Did you try and like talk yourself out of
No,
it?
I didn't. I didn't. It's not that I try and talk myself out of it. I notice, I pay attention, I file it away, and then it comes up. So it's like, I don't know, maybe I've just really got to get annoyed at myself to then go more gung ho into, trusting what things come through. It's a developing story. I'll let
I
you know.
kind of like think that intuition as well is like is your ability to read the fields. That's
Mm.
what I think your intuition is. That's why I said it's not separate from you. You are in it. It is of you. It's all around you. It's everything. And so what you're really doing is that it is access into the fields, and that's what we kind of like have to work on. Do you trust when you open up your front door and you step inside your house that you're in your house? You automatically do. You do, because you're in your house, and so that's your intuition. You're in it, and so that's the feeling. That's what's always there. And when we speak about how do we, in terms of our children from like young, I remember when my son was choosing his secondary school, and when we went and looked at this particular school that he said he wanted to go to, and we walked around it, and he had such a feeling about it, and he was like, and I think he found out that the school was built like on his birthday in like, I don't know, 1605 or something like that, and he was like, this is my school. And I was like, I don't know about that, because right now all I can see is just red bricks. What do you on earth do you like about this school? Do you know what I mean? And he was like, no, this is my school. And when he had his interview with the headmistress, when I then spoke to her afterwards, she said to me, what an incredible, it was kind of like, what an incredible young man. He knows exactly where he wants to go and what he wants to do. And I said, yeah, he does. And so said, so done. They made him a fantastic offer. We took the offer and he went to that school. But when we accepted the offer, I said to him then that feeling that you had when you walked around the school, I said, that feeling tells you that you're in the right place. If you go anywhere and you ever question, am I in the right place? If you don't have that feeling, then no, you're not. And I remember telling him that almost, how old is he now? 31, almost, I don't know, not good at maths. He was 11. What's that?
It was 11, 20 years ago.
Yeah, there you go. But you know, and so I remember telling him that. And I think, and at that point in time, I thought to myself, wow, what a really good, you spend all of this time teaching your kids and showing your kids, for me spiritually. And then when they show up with their own, and that's why people ask me, why did you let him go to that school when he could have gone to, so like, because here in this country, we have sort of like 3 different systems of schools. So, you know, you've got private, you've got grammar schools, which are like private grammar schools, but which are like private schools, but you don't pay, and they're really good, like educational quality. And then you've got your comprehensives, which could just range across the board. Do you know what I mean? And he got into grammar schools as well. And my sister was like, well, why didn't you send him to the grammar school? Because then I wouldn't have had to pay. But it was a case of I said I had to follow his intuition, his gut. He knew where he wanted to go. And I can't raise my kids in the way in how I'm raising them and then completely just, well, it's not going to happen. Override it. That doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? So we went with it. And he had a great time. And they looked after him. They took good care of him.
Beautiful.
Love it.
You feel love and gratitude.
All right. So I'm trying to stop myself from saying that school mom groups are savage. Cutthroat.
I distance myself as much as possible.
And so
I can understand.
My sympathy and all my love goes out to you, Kylie, because even though I'm just in the beginning of experiencing that, I see it with my sister's older kids, and I'm like, mind-blowing.
It is an absolute disservice to these kids to be around, like, whatever. Yeah, I know. This is why we drink, to deal with these conflicts. No, it's funny because like these PTAs like caricatures themselves, right? And you get in there and you're like, oh my God, this is a cult of Botox. And I don't want any part of it. And that was what makes me itchy. And that's why I'll be the first one who will staple your goddamn exams in the quiet of a copy room where I don't have to talk with anyone versus sitting there doing, no. Sorry, I could talk about this. We're not. Trauma.
Yeah, I'm with you. Kylie, I picked the position in the PTA that I didn't need anyone else's input, anyone else's like joining of nothing. I do it on my own time, on my own time, and I contribute.
No, I made a very good friend on the PTA. A very good friend. She's a lifelong friend. And I didn't even know her. Her son was in my daughter's class. I didn't even know. I knew her son and I knew her mum, because it was the mum that used to, the grandmother that used to bring her son to school, because the way of how she worked. And I met her, the first time I ever met her was on the PTA. And when I found out who her son was, I said, but he's in my daughter's class. And he was like, yeah, but because of the way she worked, she just wasn't ever able to bring him to school. And we are lifelong friends. But I understand that whole ethos. That's what I say. The older years at my children's school, they were very, very snobbish. They had a way about them that, like, you know, who are you, and we don't communicate with you, and stuff like that. And the funny thing I tell you, which has nothing to do with intuition or stuff like that, they all had this kind of attitude of as if you were going to steal their husband, you know,
Ooh.
as if you were going to
Right.
steal their husband. So they would all carry that kind of attitude. Don't want to speak to you. Don't want to think because, oh, not sure about you because, round my husband.
Block.
And you just think, wow, Christ.
Block the whole
Insecure
Wild.
much?
It was a very,
Yeah.
sorry?
Oh, that
Yeah.
drives me crazy.
The very, so it carried a horrible energy.
I can't remember one instance where I've thought that about anyone.
No, I might have him. I'm
Same.
getting 50-50 anyway, so I have him.
I honestly think that
But-
it's amazing that these women think their husbands are so attractive that other people would want
No.
them.
I didn't want to
Like,
say it. I didn't want to say it.
God.
I
didn't wanna get
long
told
for
about
loving someone
judgment.
like that.
God.
I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to get told about judgment. But you know what it is?
Douchebag.
It's women's inability to say to other women, if you think that the other woman is, say, pretty or beautiful, or sometimes they just look nice, just say, wow, you look really lovely today, or you look really nice today, or I'm loving that jeans, or stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? It's our inability to say that. And what we do is that we twist it, we turn it, and that person almost becomes a threat.
Oh.
So for people, I almost became a threat for them rather than them just say. And that's why many people wouldn't speak to me. They wouldn't
I'm just gonna
speak to me.
stick with
And
my
if
two
they spoke to me,
girlfriends.
they'd realize that I'm quite a funny person. And I like to laugh at myself.
So everyone give someone a compliment today.
There's your homework. And maybe block someone that you don't like.
And also,
Don't waste your
anyway,
energy.
yeah. But schools can be an absolute can be a battlefield when it comes to parents, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh,
So on that note, if you're interested in a reading, a healing, a guided meditation session,
I don't think there's anyone should be coming to me for a
to deal
healing
with
after
the
that.
trauma.
I will show you how to block on an iPhone.
head on over to yoursoulwisdomshow.com. We thank you for allowing us to create this beautiful space, and we hope you have a blessed day. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.